Everyone. I changed up on my opening there. Welcome to the committee's 39th annual commemoration of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. It is always a pleasure to see all of you here and to see that you continue to believe it is important to gather to celebrate the Reverend Dr. King's legacy and to ensure that his vision of a beloved community continues. As usual, we gathered our local and state representatives, and this year, in addition, a poet, to kick off Attleboro's remembrance of the Reverend Dr. King. Thank you for participating. Unfortunately, the Brennan Middle School chorus could not join us today, but we'll have a poetry reading by committee member Geraldine Faquer. I'll get it the next time. So during this annual commemoration of the Reverend Dr. King Jr. holiday, the committee wanted to uplift Dr. King's principles of nonviolence. They are critically important for the times we are in, especially as they relate to protecting freedom, justice, and democracy. People are dismayed, discouraged, fearful, and frustrated as they witness the democratic ideals established at the founding of this nation and those achieved through the civil rights movement being chipped away. People are saddened and again discouraged by the inhumane treatment of immigrants and now U.S. citizens, by the lack of empathy, compassion, and accountability. The committee believes that Dr. King's principles of nonviolent direct action can help light a path forward and give encouragement and hope, reminding us that nonviolence believes that the universe is on the side of justice and justice will eventually win. So on this day, it is a call to action. We want not just to remember and honor the Reverend Dr. King, but to continue his mission. So with that, we'll start our commemorative events with remarks from City Mayor Kathleen D. Simone.
Thank you, Ethel. Good afternoon. I keep thinking it's morning, but anyway, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much, Ethel. Thank you all for being here on the snowy morning or afternoon to celebrate the Martin Luther King holiday. And of course, many thanks to Ethel and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Committee of Greater Attleboro for organizing this, the 39th event of its kind in City Hall. Right? Congratulations, well done. Friends, I think we're all going to have very similar themes today. We're in a moment, but in these turbulent times, it is indeed right and good to gather here to celebrate and honor Dr. King and his legacy of nonviolence and peaceful resistance. It is indeed right and good that we recommit ourselves to Dr. King's teaching that the most powerful force for change is not the fist or the sword, but a heart anchored in justice and a voice raised in truth. It is right and good that we recommit ourselves to the idea that democracy is a social contract not only between the people and their government, but also between each of us as citizens. In our current political climate, the spirit of nonviolence can feel difficult to maintain, and Dr. King's dream of a worldwide, all-encompassing, unconditional love for all mankind seems very far away indeed. Yet, as he showed us, Dr. King told us that we know it's precisely when the world feels most polarized that these principles are most needed. Because we understand that today and every day we must work to shrink the tentacles of tribalism by getting out in the community and encouraging empathy, fostering hope, and focusing on shared ideals. All of us gathered here know that nonviolence is not a moment, but a way of life. It is not disengagement, it is direct engagement through honest conversation, relationships, and community. Well, we don't seek to win, but rather to understand, to be better, and to do better for each other. Protecting our democracy and advancing civil rights today requires the same discipline that Dr. King championed all those years ago. To listen when we want to shout, to organize when we want to despair, and to humanize those with whom we disagree. Lastly, we can never forget that we are the people, we are the power, and that our democracy lives not only in our government, but in each and every one of us every day, and is foundationally and fundamentally important, the way that we interact and the way in which we treat each other when we agree and don't agree. So having said all that, it is right and good that I stand here before you to honor and appreciate Ethel and the good work of the committee in the holidays. Come on down, Ethel. So, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the sword that heals, protecting freedom, justice, and democracy through nonviolence. Whereas Martin Luther King Jr., born in Georgia in 1929 and following family footsteps into the Southern Negro ministry, became a crusader for the mid-century civil rights movement, turning local conflicts into moral issues of national concern. And whereas, convinced that nonviolent resistance was the most potent weapon available to oppress people in their struggle for freedom, Martin Luther King Jr. won the 1964 Nobel Peace Prize for his application of Gandhi's principles to the struggle for racial equality. And whereas Martin Luther King Jr. stated that nonviolence is a powerful and just weapon which cuts without wounding and ennobles the man who wields it, it is a word that heals. Now, therefore, I, Kathleen D. Simone, Mayor of the City of Attleboro, do hereby proclaim January 19th, 2026 to be Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Attleboro, and do urge all residents to safeguard our democracy individually, collectively, and always peacefully. Well done. Congratulations.
Now we'll have a poetry reading by fellow committee member Geraldine Fakir. She's going to school me on that.
Hello, everyone. My name is, sorry, wrong. I apologize. Hello, everyone. My name is Geraldine Fakir. This poem is called I Have a Dream. I have a dream deep in my soul of a world where everyone is whole, where freedom and justice are real and true, and peace fills the air for me and you. As a Black woman, I stand tall and strong, learning and hoping to right what is wrong. I want the young to see a better way, a future full of love and a brighter day. Martin says, I have a dream, it's clear, that hope and faith can wipe away fear. We must believe in what's good and right, and work together in love's pure light. The circle of life keeps spinning around. We are the colors of the rainbow found, not just black or white, but all the shades, unity and love. That's how change is made. God's love for his children is deep and wide. He's with us always, right by our side. He dreams of a world where all are free, a place of peace for you and me. So let's stand together, hand in hand, building a future across the land. With hope in our hearts and love to share, we can create a world fair and square. Thank you.
Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you very much. So now we'll have our speakers. We'll begin with Attleboro Municipal Council President Todd Kobus.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's thank you for everyone being here today to help honor the memory of Dr. King. It means a lot to me personally to share this space with all of you. As human beings, there's something instinctual and powerful about shared space, isn't there? About shaking hands and just being together. One thing I love about being City Council President is that I don't serve faceless shareholders. I serve the people I run into in rooms like this, at Stop and Shop, the neighbors whose kids go to school with my kids, people who may disagree with the decision I make on Tuesday and then sit next to me on the train on Wednesday. I've come to realize that as a community, it's hard to just dismiss someone after you've looked them in the eye. It is hard to refer to a neighbor as a statistic after you've shaken their hand. Community does something the internet never will. It reminds us of each other's humanity. Now, I recognize this isn't a new concept. We've all made the same arguments about Facebook cesspools and the impact of social media. And Dr. King understood this value of community better than anyone. He didn't build his movement from a distance. He walked into the streets. He put his body on the line. He let people see him. He let them arrest him. He forced the nation to look into the faces it had trained itself not to see. People told him his marches were disruptive, that they were uncomfortable, that they wouldn't change anything. I don't know if any of that sounds familiar. But in reality, they changed the law, they changed public opinion, they changed the future. Today, we are again living in a moment where peaceful voices are treated like threats, where neighbors worry how they speak, where they come from, or the color of their skin makes them suspect, where protest is framed as something dangerous instead of something deeply American. We don't need just one Martin Luther King right now. We need thousands of people willing to borrow his courage, people willing to stand close to one another, to stay visible, to stay human. And as we all know, Dr. King said, "The arc of the moral universe is long but bends towards justice." We've all heard that quote. But the part of that quote that is implied is that the arc does not bend on its own. It takes work. It bends when regular people show up in small and large rooms like this, in big and small cities, and with new and old friends. So, on behalf of the Municipal Council, thank you for being here this afternoon, here in this room and in this community with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have State Representative Adam Scanlon.
So good afternoon. So today we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. by reflecting not only on his dream, but on the democratic principles that made his movement possible. That's this year's theme, the sword that heals, protecting justice and democracy through nonviolence. Dr. King reminds us that justice in America has most often advanced not through violence, but through moral courage guided by law. Dr. King believed deeply in the promises of the Constitution. He described it as a promissory note, guaranteeing liberty and equality to all Americans. When those promises were broken, his response was not to abandon democracy, but to demand that it live up to its own ideals through nonviolent action. In Brown v. Board of Education, the Supreme Court held that racial segregation in public schools violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The court declared that separate is inherently unequal. Yet Brown alone did not dismantle segregation. It was a nonviolent protest, boycotts, marches, and civil disobedience that transformed the constitutional principle into social reality. Nonviolence became the sword that cut through the injustice without destroying the rule of law. Nearly a decade later, in the case of Gideon v. Wainwright in 1963, the Supreme Court ruled that the Sixth Amendment requires states to provide legal counsel to defendants who cannot afford an attorney. This was not ancient history. It was a modern affirmation that democracy cannot function if justice depends on the wealth or status. Together, Brown and Gideon remind us that constitutional rights are not self-executing. They require citizens willing to insist peacefully and persistently that those rights be honored. Dr. King's movement showed that nonviolence protects democracy by demanding change without surrendering to hatred or chaos. In a time of division and distress, Dr. King's message remains clear. Justice must be pursued, but it must be pursued in a way that strengthens rather than fractures our constitutional system. As we remember Dr. King today, let us carry forward this truth. The American justice system is always evolving, not written in stone, but with an elasticity that strives to make it better. That is the wisdom that Dr. King left us to celebrate today, and I'm so honored to be here with all of you. So thank you for having me.
Our next speaker is State Representative Jim Hawkins.
Thank you. I can say graphically that this is an honor for me to be here. I think I've spoken, you've been doing this 30, how many years? 39 years. So I've probably been here 9 years out of those 39. I have not missed one since I've been in office. And I realized I kind of, this is personal, I kind of reached the tipping point in my office where I had to clean it up. And the thing that I've saved on my shelf is the thank you note I get from coming here every year. I always appreciate good manners, which I'm lacking. But this is this is an important event, and that's the reason that I saved them. It's something that I want to see year-round and think about, is the work of Dr. Martin Luther King and the work that Ethel and her whole committee does to make this event happen. That's important, and it means a lot to me to be able to speak. I thought about writing notes, but you would miss the 2 o'clock service if I did that. They'd be so long. So I think the theme, as the mayor said, is going to be pretty much the same with all of us. There's some scary, scary things going on in Minneapolis right now, and we're very likely to be next. They're already shipping in supplies for it. So we need to learn. I looked around for quotes from Dr. King, and there's so many of them that are relevant. But the idea of nonviolence and the idea of working together, we need to be with our friends. We need to know that we have a lot of friends in this. We need to respect all the things. We thought this was done. We thought this was history. Most of the times I've come here and I talk about all the cool things we're doing. And last year I remember I had a much darker message. And this year, white supremacy has it's raised its ugly head. It's the way we're doing things right now. So we have our work cut out for us. And I think it's coming very soon to this area. So this is good timing to have this meeting. And all of you, please review a lot of the wisdom from Dr. King and use that as we face this going forward. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for including me.
Thank you for that call to action. And heads up. Next, we'll have State Senator Paul Feeney.
Great crowd. Good afternoon, everybody. I've been coming here, I think, for the last 8 or 9 years myself. And I was thinking on the way in this morning, it's been a while since we've gathered on Martin Luther King Day where the Patriots have been facing an AFC championship game and so deep into the playoffs. And I say that to give you a little warning, too. I was at the game yesterday, so if I lost my voice, I apologize. I'll do my best to get through it. It is so good to be back together again with all of you, and I know you feel it the same way. I want to thank Ethel for bringing us together for so many years, and to the committee, thank you. Thank you for what you do and for keeping this tradition alive. To our wonderful Mayor DeSimone, thank you for all that you do for the city. To the Municipal Council, to Council President Todd Kobus, Vice President Dolan, thank you for what you do and your leadership in the city. My colleagues in the State House, Representative Adam Scanlon, Representative Jim Hawkins, I'm blessed to be able to partner with them every day to bend that moral arc as much as we can in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Together, steeped in tradition, we gather as a community on the third Monday of January in honor of Dr. King. Fresh off the new year and fresh in our minds are reflections of the year past and hopes for the year ahead. When I say it's good to be back again, I truly, really mean it from the bottom of my heart, because after the year that we've had, being here together brings me some comfort. And I can already, looking around, feel a sense of peace that has candidly been difficult to find this past year. A year that has been anything but normal, friends. Since we gathered here last, we've seen political violence take root like we haven't seen in a generation. We've seen the degradation of truth and science. We've witnessed families separated and lawfully abiding citizens ripped from the streets. We have shuddered at assassinations and increased violence in the name of political ideology. We have felt fear take root among our neighbors and have mourned relationships and friendships that have been lost to divisive rhetoric. But as the temperature rises in every segment of society, while unprecedented hate permeates our culture And as those fault lines widen, our own eyes have become clearer. As people on the right side of history, we see with increased clarity that injustice is no longer the symptom of policy, but instead, for some, injustice has become the policy. Through all of this, each of us stands at a crossroads. With the dawn of each day, we ask ourselves, what is my role? What do I do? How should I feel? How can I react? In the words of Dr. King, quote, "As my sufferings mounted, I soon realized that there were two ways in which I could respond to my situation. Either to react with bitterness or to seek to transform the suffering into a creative force. I decided to follow the latter course." It's been said that in times of crisis, and I quote this often, friends, that you can get bitter or you can get better. In my view, I believe that Dr. King understood that bitter is a human condition and an evolutionary created reaction, but its usefulness in our modern society has certainly waned. But sisters, brothers, and siblings, bitter is easy. It's also contagious. But if bitter is more often caught than taught, then so is better. So is hope. So is empathy. So is love. So is love. So is action. The words of Dr. King, backed up by his legacy of action, should inspire us in these difficult times to turn our anger, our trepidation, our bitterness into a creative force. A force steeped in justice, fortified with love, and gifted to us by our Creator that is so much deeper, stronger, and more powerful than the anger, bitterness, and injustice employed by those who have yet to experience our light or feel the warmth of hope. So then, our call is to feel that righteous anger that you all feel these days, that even Dr. King was not immune to, but to use our passion to oppose hate, not with hate, but with love. To treat each other the way Scripture tells us to be our siblings' keeper and not to be silent in the time of injustice. In the words of another wise man, Elie Wiesel, quote, "The opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference." So we gather today, a day that we could keep entirely to ourselves, a nice holiday. Many people have the day off. We could keep that to ourselves, but what do? We give a part of it to each other. We continue Dr. King's tradition of suiting up and showing up with each other and for each other. Make no mistake about it, as a public servant, especially in these turbulent times, with a face-to-face view of injustice, I wake up angry and I experience bitter. I'm sure that many of you feel the same. But in the company of each of you, in this collective remembrance of Reverend King, using the words that we hear today by each other as a call to action, I can say that even for a moment, bitterness has fallen away. Being here, I just feel better. And I know that together in the days ahead, we can build a society that is better, a culture that is better, by bending the moral arc of the universe, starting in our own communities, in our own backyards. We will most certainly build a more just future that is better. Brothers, sisters, siblings, people of Attleboro, those with us today, those watching at home, those that can't be here but hold each of us in the depths of their own heart, together with love, with hope, guided by the words of our Creator, as delivered by leaders like Dr. King, we must be better. Thank you all. God bless.
Thank you. So our last speaker today is Stephanie Gray, District Director of the Office of Congressman Jake Auchincloss. Thank you. Welcome. I'll give you a hug.
Thank you, Ethel. The Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Committee of Greater Attleboro, Mayor DeSimone, and everyone gathered here today to once again commemorate as a beloved community this day honoring the great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Though Congressman Auchincloss regrets that he could not be with you here in person today, he asked me to say a few words on his behalf. And I'll take a moment here just to reflect on the common themes of our speeches here today, which you'll hear reflected in my own as well. It's encouraging to me as a Attleboro resident as well, because it just shows that we have alignment here, and that Attleboro understands the assignment. I don't want to take that for granted. The theme of this year's event is especially poignant for this moment we find ourselves in this country, protecting freedom, justice, and democracy through nonviolence. In preparing for this occasion, Congressman Auchincloss reread Dr. King's 1963 letter from a Birmingham jail, which, along with the Gettysburg Address and the Declaration of Independence, he holds as part of the Holy Trinity of the American dream, describing who we are as a people and what composes our character. And as he was reading it, there was one passage he wanted me to share with you that stood out to him, and it speaks about the relationship between time and justice. We are in a moment right now where we are struggling with that. On the one hand, there are increasingly powerful forces trying to fractionalize and disorient the way that we spend our time. 7-second TikTok videos, several screens in front of you, the next headline, and it's hard to focus, and it's hard to figure out what matters. On the other hand, there's this complacency about the effects of time. We hear what Dr. King said about how the arc of moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, and we think that it will bend on its own. Well, as we heard today several times, it doesn't bend on its own. We got to put our shoulder into that arc, and there is no gravity to do it for you. Let me now echo one section from the letter that speaks to this. There is a tragic misconception of time, from the strangely irrational notion that there is something in the very flow of time that will inevitably cure all ills. Actually, time itself is neutral. It can be used either destructively or constructively. More and more, I feel that the people of ill will have used time much more effectively than have the people of goodwill. We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the hateful words and actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. Human progress never rolls in on wheels of inevitability. It comes through the tireless efforts of men willing to be co-workers with God, and without this hard work, time itself becomes an ally of the forces of social stagnation. We must use time creatively in the knowledge that the time is always ripe to do. Now is the time to make real the promise of democracy and transform our pending national elegy into creative psalm of brotherhood. Now is the time to lift our national policy from the quicksand of racial injustice to the solid rock of human dignity. Thank you.
Thank you. That ends the succession of speakers, and I'll just give you my closing remarks. I thank you for coming today to celebrate and acknowledge Dr. King. And then I invite you to attend the interfaith service at 2 o'clock at Central Congregational Church at 109 Commonwealth Avenue, Attleboro Falls. Thank you for coming.